Welcome back to the workshop, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. What a glorious day. Today was the day I decided I'm going to clean up this area. I need some room. Garlic season is here. I've got to get it in on a rack, start to cure it and dry it. So that meant getting the chainsaws out, sharpening the chainsaw blades, and moving things around and fixing this and fixing that. And so I had a bunch of logs that I had put in bags. Don't do that. If you're a wood turner and you're going to turn wood, cut it up, turn it the same day, be done with it. Don't try to store it, okay? Because as you can see, it started to rot. I mean, just rot. So I did cut this crotch section open, and I'll show that to you in a minute here. But today I want to talk about something. Because of the rot, it got me to thinking about moisture in wood. And we all know trees grow because of moisture and air, carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen, whatever they picks up from the air, photosynthesis. So how much moisture is in wood for your furniture projects is important, especially in today's climate-controlled environments. We have air conditioning and we have heat in the winter, and so it dries out our woodworking. So that's why so many people use kiln-dried wood, because kiln-dried is supposedly more stable. But is it? If I dry wood, I used to have a kiln here, and if I would dry wood down to 6 to 8%, and you really can't get your moisture content down to a single digit or even a half of a single digit. It's usually a range, 6 to 8%. Once I take it out of that kiln, if I put it into a more dry environment, it's going to continue to lose moisture. If I put it into a wetter environment, more humid, it's going to pick up moisture, okay? So that's why when you kiln dry lumber, it should go into a reasonably climate-controlled environment, all right? So you see these cabinet making shops where they have the big roll-up doors open in the summertime, there's no climate control. All right, so you're going to get swelling in the summertime. So for years I had used this is not a paid promotion, I had used a mini ligno pin style moisture meter. Now the pin style uses 2 probes, and those probes penetrate into the wood wherever you press it, and it will take a reading of the resistance between the distance of those points and the electronics. And it tells you a range. Are you at 6%, 8%, and 10%? Where are you, okay? All I needed that for was to tell me, am I on the dry side or am I on the wet side? I just wanted to know, am I way too wet or am I dry or way too dry? That's all I wanted to know, because it would tell me how I have to plan my construction. You can build furniture straight from the log. Wet wood. You can build furniture with wet wood if you know the 16th, 15th century, 14th century style of construction where you're using mortise and tenon, and it was able to move as it dried. It would shrink, but the furniture would stay together because it was pinned, okay? It didn't use any glue. It was all just mortise and tenon and pinned or dovetailed. So the key to having the moisture in wood today, to know the moisture in wood, is because of our modern glues, our modern style of construction, our modern environments that we're placing our furniture into. So, because the pin style would leave holes in the wood, I always had to make sure I was testing on the back side of the wood or on the edge of the wood, or, which is a bad place to test it, on the end grain of the wood, because your wood loses moisture from the large surface, the face, the top and bottom face. Whether it's quarter sawn or whether it's flat sawn, doesn't matter. That's where it's going to lose most of its moisture. Then it'll lose on the ends and the edges. It will lose most of its moisture on the end grain, because that's where the open pores are, would just poof, go out. So if you take a fresh cut piece of wood and you lay it out like this, where air is completely around it, it will lose more moisture off the ends, and that's why wood cracks on the ends first, because it loses moisture too fast. So, testing your wood, moisture on the end grain is not the place you want to test it. Will it give you a reading? Yeah. I mean, I always laugh when I see people testing firewood and they stick the probes into the end grain of a piece of firewood. I said, no, the center is wet. The end is dry, the center is wet. So, for my shop, I switched to a pinless. See, this has no pins. This has just a little plate that you lay on the wood, and it'll give you a reading. This is also made by Lignomat USA. This one will scan a piece of wood just by holding it up to it, and it'll give you a reading. We're at 7.3% according to this. Now, I don't know what scale I'm in. It looks like it's really set for oak. Let me see. Wood 60, 59, 58, 57. Let's take it down to 50. Okay, that's better. 9.3, 9.4%. Wood will reach what's known as equilibrium moisture content, or EMC. Once it reaches EMC, it won't get, that's your environment. That's whatever your room is, that's whatever the outdoor is. And for Pennsylvania here, we should be at this time of year somewhere between 10 and 12% moisture if you're in what I call an open environment. Not out in the rain, but just where there's air coming in. So like we're in the shop, the door's wide open, all right? So this should be, after about a year, somewhere around 10 to 12%. And it's down around 9. It was indoors over the winter, the heat was on, drier. So, I had a company reach out to me by the name of Eric Hill. And they sent me one of these moisture meters to test and review. I figured, what the heck, right? But I told them, I said, send me 2. Why 2? Because I'm going to give one away. One of you are going to win one of these. See? I'm going to win this one in a box. So, how does this one work? This is a pin style. 2 pins. They're under the protective cover so you don't poke yourself. It uses 2 AAA batteries included, and it has a wide range of testing settings. So, testing set number 1 is for large. This happens to be large. So, like I said, it has 2 pins. So, these are about 3/8 of an inch deep. And if I press them into the wood and I wait, I'm getting a reading of 11.2%. It's It's kind of hard to put it on the camera, but let's see if we can. Push it in. Don't know if that showed up. So, 11%, what did I say? 10 to 12% up here. If we test it on the edge grain, this looks like it works something like a thermometer. It starts off high, then it goes down until it gets to 10.6. Let's try this edge grain. .1. So here again, like I said, normally we don't test the end grain, but if I did, 11.4. I just cut this today. This was a longer board. This is a piece of waste. It's a longer board, so this is a fresh cut edge. How they do it in industry is when they're setting up dry kilns, they have sacrificial boards that they put in the middle of their stacks. And they'll be a lower grade, but the same species, red oak, white oak, maple, whatever. And they'll pull those boards out periodically during a kiln run, and they'll cut them open. They'll cut them lengthwise in half. Then they'll take a section out of that, oven dry it. So you take your weight of the wood before drying, then you take the weight of the wood after you oven dry it. In other words, it stops losing moisture. The difference is your moisture content. That will give you a precise to the gram moisture content, okay? But for me, I'm just curious, is the wood dry enough or is it wet? That's all I was interested in. I wasn't looking, I'm not a nuclear scientist, so I'm not worried about it. But that's about it. But moisture in wood, you need to know. I know this stuff is wet. It's real wet. It rotted. So, I'll leave a link for this down below. If you want to go on Amazon and buy it, use that link and that'll help the channel out. But if you want to win this one, if you really want to win it, in the comments section, put in hashtag moisture meter and click enter. I will, in 1 week, go back into the video, take all the people who have put in hashtag moisture meter, one word, moisture meter, and pick one person randomly. I'll enter it in one of those random generators, if I can figure out how to do it. And one person will win this one, and we'll get it out in the mail to you. Anyone willing to make a donation to $1 or $2 here and there to help cover the cost of the postage, that would be nice because I'm not wealthy. And you're going to have a moisture meter. But if you want to buy one in the meantime, you can follow the link and go to Amazon and pick one up. Not a bad deal, okay? I spent $100 and something years ago for my mini Ligno. I don't even remember what I spent on this one. So that's how important moisture was to me. I was willing to spend hundreds of dollars. And I've had 6 different moisture meters that I've used, bought and sold over the year until I found one that I was content with. So had I had this one, might not have had to spend so much money. So let's take a look and see what we got here. I already chainsawed this open. Look at that. Let's see if we can get you down here. That's northern white ash, and it was the crotch where two branches went up. And you can see down the center there's that feathering, that real pretty feathering figure. I don't know how this is going to dry, especially after having been sitting and rotting, but I got two of them, two halves now. I can move them out of the way and just let them slowly dry. And I have to cut up 3 more logs yet today. No crotches. This is the only crotch I had. So that's about it for today. Head out to your shop. Go test some wood. Cut open some logs. Clean up your shop. Get rid of whatever you don't need. Put it on a firewood pile. Seriously, if you're a bowl turner and you get wood, cut it open, turn your bowls to green rough, and set them to drying, and get rid of the waste right away. Don't clutter your shop up with logs. Not like I have. I have too many. I got a dozen of them in here. Your good friend Walter, out.